everybody. Please grab a seat. Wonderful. You'll see on the tables that we have some printouts, which are a quick shot into our founders, who, really are the stars of today. Wonderful, wonderful. Okay, we're going to kick things off. I'm going to go really fast because we're already 10 minutes past. But you know what that is? Yeah, I love the gas from Julia. That's a good sign that everyone is networking and the right people are here in the room, and we're all really excited about today and the kickoff of SheBoot. Woohoo! So we have some opening remarks. Then we're going to introduce IRAP to say a few words. Then we're going to meet our cohort. So we're going to have, this is an important component to today. We're going to have our founders introduce themselves and share their why. So not just introducing their business or, doing their elevator pitch, but their why behind their business. And they're going to summarize that in 60 to 90 seconds. I'm hoping they're listening online. They're going to summarize that in 60 to 90 seconds, and then we're going to move straight into the next because we've got 15 founders to introduce, lots of really exciting companies, and so we're going to get through those quickly. Then we're just going to talk about some program highlights. Lots of you are really familiar with the program, but we want to dive into what we're going to cover over the next 6 weeks, especially while we kickstart boot camp. Then we're going to have an extremely exciting panel discussion. So we have the leaders from Axonify here in the room and online with us today, and they had a $400 million exit. I can't imagine two leaders better equipped to speak to our founders about their journey through entrepreneurship. Then we're going to invite Megan Paterson up to speak about corporate sponsorship, and we're so proud to have Kinaxis join us this year, so as a sponsor. And she is the COO of Kinaxis. And then we're going to have closing remarks, and we're going to have some more networking. So the conversations don't end here, they only start. And with that, I'm going to invite Sonia Shori, co-founder of SheBoot, up to the mic.
I said I'm going to sit in the chairs because I feel like this is a living room full of so many people I care about, amazing champions, leaders who have been on this journey with us for 6 full years. So thank you all on behalf of Invest Ottawa and Bayview. Welcome to your Innovation Hub. It's an honor to welcome you. And it's also been an honor, and I really want to highlight this, to build something so special together with 2 women leaders in our community that I deeply respect and admire, and I'm privileged to call friends, Julia and Jennifer. Thank you so much for being the amazing co-founders you are and for helping us to be where we are today. Before we begin, I do want to acknowledge that the land on which we gather, both here in Ottawa and across the country, is the traditional unceded, unsurrendered territory here in our region of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. We're very grateful to have the opportunity to be present in this territory and come together as a national community. Further, I want to respect and affirm the inherent and treaty rights of all Indigenous peoples across this land. We recognize the contribution of Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples have and continue to make, both in shaping and strengthening this community and our country as a whole. Today is particularly special. In addition to welcoming our incredible new 6th cohort, we have many new investors, partners, sponsors, volunteers, coaches gathered with us in this room today. I continually say SheBoot is the program that love, passion, and commitment built, and it was anchored here in Ottawa and now stretches right across the country. And I'm so honored to have the chance to share with you the 6th year. Breaking Barriers is what we have called this slide because it truly is a commitment to equip and enable diverse pipeline of women tech and tech-enabled founders fueling their long-term growth, sustainable change in our community, in our world for future generations, and that is needed more than ever when we think about the stagnant numbers of that 2%, maximum 2.7% every single year that solo women-founded companies generate in terms of capital. We all know that's unacceptable, and that's why we assemble together and continue to drive forward through SheBoot and many of the other activities we take. It takes a village and a community, and we have the best community in Canada to drive this goal. So our impact since 2020, 15 game-changing companies that are coming into this year's cohort. 50% over the course of the last 6 years. This year included 50% BIPOC co-led or led companies. We're really, really passionate about making sure that we support founders from every single walk of life. That's a commitment that we make and one that we know all of you share. 52 women angel investors total. That's remarkable because as you see in the next slide, when we get into our dual mandate, we need those investors desperately to continue driving change in the investment landscape as well. Program graduates, that would be 65. That's such an exciting number to me. I remember the days that we started in Jennifer Francis's living room talking about this as a starting point, and to see that number climb year over year has just been incredible. 45 million raised by alumni, and that definitely deserves huge applause for the founders who have made that happen and put so much of the community effort to work in their business. And our goal, of course, is to make sure that every woman founder that comes through our program has the opportunity to get the funding that they need to grow and thrive. As you all know, and how many folks in this room are new to SheBoot? I think it'd be an interesting show of hands. Okay, just a small number. Many in the community, of course, have been a part of the journey in different ways, even if it's as promoters or champions. We have a dual mandate to increase the capital available to women-led technology companies and to get more women investing. We know when more women are on that side of the table, more women get funded, and this is to support that next generation of founders that we want to ensure are building our community, our economy. Our goal is to make sure that there are many $100 million owned and led women tech and tech-enabled companies in this country, and thank you for being a part of that vision and that goal. Of course, you know many members of the team because we are such a close-knit community. I've already done a wonderful opening to the co-founders that joined on that journey, Jennifer and Julia, whom I know many of you have collaborated with, wearing many of their hats, whether it's as industry leaders, as co-founders of SheBoot, or the other roles they play in our community with different boards and philanthropic endeavors. And myself, I'm just so excited to serve as president and CEO of Invest Ottawa as well, which allows us to support those here in Ottawa as well in different ways through our different programs. My good friend Lana Legastaiva, is she with us today? She is our virtual CFO. Jane Baird, of course, and Katie Leclerc, who you have met, our amazing executive director and program and marketing manager. This would not happen without them. So we are here for you, and we are here to support our community. Of course, nothing would happen without incredible contribution from our partners, our investors, and our sponsors. I want to start with the Government of Canada, with NRC IRAP. Thank you, Kathy and Michelle, for being such amazing partners, collaborators, and helping us to bring this program national. Would not have happened without you. We are indebted to you. Invest Ottawa and the Capital Angel Network in our early days. Our two organizations came together. I know Suzanne Grant is in the room. I hope some of my Invest Ottawa colleagues. We came together with that shared vision of helping to get SheBoot off the ground by building out the program elements and delivering them for both the founders, which Invest Ottawa led, and the Capital Angel Network leading on the investor side. Those contributions were immense and they were invaluable, and they allowed us to begin building a foundation to scale. Of course, we have incredible sponsors and partners. Welsh, I know Welsh is in the room. Hello. Thank you so much for being on the journey with us. To all of our friends from Welsh that are in the room. Gowlings, anyone in the room from Gowlings? Thank you so much. I don't see anyone here today. We will make sure that they get big thanks. Mistral, who has done our special purpose vehicle. I don't know if anyone from Mistral has joined us. Okay. Well, we will send our deep thanks. We have a new sponsor, Kinaxis. Thank you so much, Megan. It's absolutely amazing. And right next to you, Navio. Thank you, Naomi, for being with us. Number Crunch, I know Susan is with us. At least I think she is. I'm going to give her a big shout out. Thank you to Number Crunch. And of course, BDC, which is our co-investor on select investments, and managing Thrive, the largest woman-focused technology investment fund on this planet. What a beautiful list this is. There's too many names here, and that's exactly what we want to see. All of the investors that have made contributions and fueled the women founders through the pitch competitions that we have hosted for SheBoot over the last 5 years, and those that include this, our 6th year. We could not do this without you. Thank you for being a part of this journey and for sharing that commitment. We put up a final slide with respect to our history, so you can see some really interesting milestones here in the journey, and of course this is captured on our website. In that first year, how we went from a 4-week boot camp, 10 co-founders, 10 angels, and step by step each year built applying the learnings and all the incremental value that was being provided by volunteers, coaches, advisors, and mentors, in addition to all the investors that came along with us. So many to mention, but you can see that progression year over year and how we have become, with the support of NRC IRAP First, a national organization that took what we built locally and scaled it. And I think that that is something we can all be proud of. That is a community achievement. It's not hinging on any one individual or organization. We're super proud of the companies that you see on this list, and there will be many more to add, which is the most beautiful part of all. And with that, I am going to hand over the microphone to one of our great champions from NRC IRAP, to Yashel Khan, who is our advisor and helping to lead SheBoot from the NRC IRAP perspective. Thank you so much.
Good evening, everyone. I'm excited to be here as the Industrial Technology Advisor for SheBoot with the National Research Council of Canada, alongside my colleague Kathy Griffiths, who's the original founder of the SheBoot program from an NRC perspective, to welcome the 2025 cohort. The partnership between NRC, IRAP, and SheBoot is one that we deeply value. As Sonia mentioned, SheBoot has made commendable strides, supporting close to 100 female founders at this point who have gone on to raise almost $50 million in follow-on funding. Our collaboration is built on a shared vision of empowering women, fostering innovation, as well as driving technological advancement. NRC's Industrial Research Assistance Program has been the cornerstone of the Canadian innovation ecosystem for decades, supporting close to thousands of SMEs per year. Annually, I believe we support close to 10,000 SMEs in funding as well as advisory services. Our mission is simple. It's to help Canadian companies grow, innovate, and succeed at a global level. And with that, I look forward to seeing all the cohort members of this specific year flourish, as well as take part in this program and see the progress they made. Congratulations once again to all the cohort members online who've been selected for this program. I look forward to meeting all of you in person. Thank you.
Thank you, Yashel. Hi, everyone. I'm Jane Baird, the Executive Director of SheBoot, and we are so excited to see you all today. And now for the moment you've all been waiting for. The next 25 minutes, the founders will, as Katie said, 60 to 90 seconds, not 91, 60 to 90, will be going chock-a-block, introducing themselves. We are going to take you across the country, starting on the East Coast in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia, with Lab 4.
Can you hear me? No. I think Okay, yes. My name is Nifemi, and I'm the founder of Lab4 Inc. And our company, we're a critical minerals producer. We are providing critical integrated infrastructure for the energy transition by providing the multi-metal and feedstock agnostic refining technology that is needed today. And so we're on our way to demo as we validated a pilot, and we're excited for it. Thank you.
I guess I just go next then. So I'm Paula Marcato, and I'm co-founder and co-president of Theranib. This is a startup company that comes out of Halifax, and it's a new therapy for cancer to stop metastasis. This is really critical because metastasis is the cause of cancer deaths in many patients. So why am I doing this? So I'm actually a professor as well. I have a cancer research lab where I've been studying this enzyme that is actually promoting cancer in many aggressive forms of cancer. But there's no drug that stops this enzyme. So if we had a drug that stopped this enzyme, then we'd be able to help a lot of patients. And a few years ago, I started collaborating with a chemist at the University of Pisa, and she came up with some new drugs that specifically target this enzyme. So we had some great results in mice. And as academics, as professor, we could just publish this and say, yeah, great, we've been able to cure cancer in mice, stop metastasis in mice. Well, that wasn't enough for us. We wanted to make sure that we at least gave the opportunity of this to bring it to the clinic. We want to make sure that we at least try to see if this could work for patients. So that's why we formed Theranet. It was actually so that we could translate the discovery and bring it to the clinic. And I'm hoping that we can do that. We can try at least to see if it can work for patients. Thank you.
So I guess I'm next then. Hello everyone, I'm Maria, I'm co-founder of Track. And why I'm doing that, I'm actually very similar, resonating story of Paola that I have been doing PhD research and I was very passionate about the results, but I always like the idea that we do research not just to do research and publish article. I wanted to do something that will change the world, and actually at some point I was visiting facilities of the industry for which I was developing the solutions, and I was fascinated how outdated it is and how my solution can really revolutionize it and change it. And was the moment when I was like, yes, I want to do it, and this is how I started the company. And I remember when I was visiting these facilities with my formal advisor, he told me like, oh, it's never going to be you who's going to do it. It's too far away. And I think 5 years after that conversation, I did first demo, first pilot at the same facilities, and I was very proud of myself. And I'm very excited about this entrepreneurship journey. Thank you.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ariella Racco. I'm the CEO and co-founder of CoLab Education, a professional networking and collaboration platform for schools and districts. My why is deeply personal. I spent over a decade as a middle school teacher in Ontario, and I watched incredible colleagues and friends unfortunately burn out and leave the profession because they felt isolated and unsupported. I saw teachers recreating the same resources in silos and struggling to find mentors and having no professional network to turn to. I also saw people switch paths in teachers college because they just didn't feel like the support was enough to give them what they needed to support their students. And so I left the classroom not because I was burnt out and tired of teaching. It was actually quite the opposite, actually. I was fired up because there's a massive unmet need, and I was so surprised that this is going unaddressed in the market. And I knew I had to jump in, and I had to jump in quickly. So even though I miss being in the classroom, I know that every teacher who stays in the profession because they feel connected and supported will impact thousands of their own students. And so multiplying that impact on a huge scale is really exciting for me. And that continues to be worth the risk every single day of what this means. Thanks so much for your time.
Hello everyone, I am Pooja. I am CEO and co-founder of GoKidu, where we connect intended parents with sperm, egg, embryo, and surrogate donors in safe, affordable, and reliable manner and make it more transparent for everyone. Now, why for me as an entrepreneur or something? I feel that entrepreneurship is a very natural human tendency. I tell you how. The very chair you are sitting on right now was also invented by somebody, and that was invented to solve a problem, right? So wherever we see a problem, I think it is a natural human tendency to solve it. And when I saw this problem, I saw the only solution is to create something which will make everybody's life easy. So that is my why, and just want to keep solving problems and make things better for everyone. So yeah, that's my why.
Hi everyone, my name is Anya Geertz. I'm the co-founder of Paloma Software, where we transform private event booking in venue spaces. I, as the mother of two very young children, feel very passionately about understanding the technology that's come before us, the Instagrams and the Facebooks, and seeing what's coming towards us and building technology that actually creates authentic human connection for the next generation. I have been an entrepreneur for over 20 years in another business. I absolutely love it. I love the highs and I love the lows. I love doing very hard things. I love doing things that have not been done before. And I feel that we all have our own little role to play in changing the world, and this is just how I do it. I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm really excited to be part of the cohort, and thank you for having me.
Hi, my name is Kathy Verneris, and I'm the founder, CEO, and inventor of Sleeks. My entrepreneurial journey began as both a choice and a necessity. The truth is, I aged out of work and was far from ready to retire. I'm a former retail executive with 25 plus years working for some of the biggest Canadian and global retailers like Loblaws, Shoppers, and Sephora. I've helped build brands like Joe Fresh, Club Monaco, and Roots with private label, product development, brand building, and startup as my specialties. I started Sleeks at the request of my 88-year-old mom who refused to wear disposable diapers and challenged me to design something she would actually wear. I set out to design washable bladder leak underwear that looks and feels like normal underwear, but has a function and absorbency of disposables. Sleeks is reusable for 100 washes, so one pair can divert almost 20 kilos of waste from landfill. We're also not period underwear. We absorb 3 times the average period underwear. Our IP is patent pending waterproof pouch and removable boost pad that feels dry to the touch. We have filed 4 patents and 2 trademarks and have just officially launched Sleeks Women's High Cut Briefs. We hope to change the landscape of bladder leak products 1 pair of Sleeks at a time. I'm so excited to be here, and thanks for listening to me.
Hi everyone, I'm Sarah. I'm co-founder and CTO at MetCove. I'm a professional software developer, and for most of my career, I valued work-life balance over almost everything else. And then one day, a friend started asking me if I would help him to develop his product vision into reality, and I said no. I said no many, many times, and with his eternal optimism and entrepreneurial spirit, he kept asking me until I finally said yes. And since that day, I have learned so much, both on the technology front and on the business front, and I am more engaged than I have ever been, and I'm just having a fantastic time on this project. So together we've built a service that captures airport audio announcements. We deliver them as text on a passenger's phone and on the large display screens in the user's language. And we're gunning to also include sign language as part of our languages. And so this is an initial focus on accessibility issues at airports, but we see this as a broad application in a variety of venues where live audio announcements deliver important information.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Ella Farlinger. I'm one of the co-founders of Trusty. We are a sexual health company looking to improve the testing landscape for STIs with an at-home product. Now, my entrepreneurship story started in the creative industries. My parents are both filmmakers and own their own production company, and I grew up in the tumult that is entrepreneurship. There was just really no world where I wasn't going to follow suit, frankly. The pace, the risk, having your skin in the game, it always appealed to me. And so after a long 15 years of being a performer, an actor, and a singer, I also specialized in research and in health research. And all of that made me quite obsessed with storytelling and people's stories. And so in the sexual health landscape, those stories tend to be very personal and very impactful. My family's story include an uncle who died of AIDS. I had a pretty awful formative experience trying to get tested as a young woman, an issue that many people share. And the more that we chatted with folks, the more that we learned that divorced individuals have stories of the trepidations of getting tested, and older adults, rural folks, and really all those stories to us just led us closer to this really important problem of this very personal area of health. And so that's really what drives me: connecting with people, learning how I can help them, and We just launched in Ontario earlier this summer, and it's been a real blast thus far. We're super excited to be here with SheBoot, and can't wait to work through this program.
Hi everyone, my name is Ellie. I am the CEO co-founder of Cnano Pharmaceuticals. We are a pharmaceutical manufacturing company based in Vancouver. I'm a UBC professor in pharmaceutical drug delivery. I'm also a pharmacist with interest in dermatology. My why to entrepreneurship goes back to 20 years ago. I have seen many patients that they suffered from eczema, something common, or something severe such as post-burn hypertrophic scarring for children. The reason that these patients suffered from this situation is not just because no treatment is available, it's because the medications hasn't been formulated in a way that they work perfectly for these patients. That struck me to come up with a solution for these situations, and I started my company, Cnano. We invented a technology that not only delivers medications through the skin, but also harness the skin cells to produce their own natural healing factors. Now, we have patented our technology, and we have a company that services more than 100 pharmacies across Canada and medical clinics. Again, my why goes back to creating products that truly works for the patients.
Hello, my name is Janira, and I'm co-founder of Imerrock. Imerrock is a mixed reality application that helps people learn guitar in a fun way. I'm building Imerrock because I found that over 90% of people who buy a guitar quit within first months because they find traditional learning methods slow and uninspiring. And I believe music instrument learning should be fun, accessible, and effective. Thank you so much.
Hello everyone, my name is Mariam. I'm CEO and co-founder of Peanut Creations. We are located in Metro Vancouver, a spin-off from Simon Fraser University. I'm also PhD graduated in chemistry. I've been in the field of electronics and material science for many years. At Peanut, we believe the future of clean energy and electronics depends on better materials. Right now, companies struggle with the current materials because they are expensive, unstable, and not designed for large-scale production. This slows down the growth of solar panels, sensors, display, and other things that the world needs them. Our why is to remove this barrier. We create advanced nano semiconductive inks that are stable, affordable, and ready for mass manufacturing. Thank you.
Hi everyone, my name is Vanessa and I'm the co-founder and CEO of FanTechMed. In terms of my why, it stemmed from really deep personal experiences. So when I was working as a geriatric registered nurse, I witnessed the gravity of social isolation and loneliness in our aging population. And not only did it impact them mentally, but physically as well, unfortunately. And the more I worked and observed, the more I realized that there really wasn't any affordable, accessible options for this problem in care settings. Nurses were stretched thin. We had 30 to 50 patients to take care of at once. There were options for paid companions, but very few families could afford it. And recreation activities had low participation rates for various reasons. And on top of that, family don't often visit. Or at all. And so all of these factors were the inspiration and driving force behind Sunnydoll, which is our intelligent companion that can engage consistently, connect meaningfully, and also flag and detect psychosocial decline early. So we can shift towards a more proactive care environment together. Why entrepreneurship? I think there's just something so beautiful and exciting about solving issues every day, figuring out what your clients and your patients truly need, being able to create a piece of technology, launch it, improve it, tweak it, and over again until you see sustained impact. I think it's a very beautiful journey. And yeah, so very happy to learn about this cohort and be a part of it and meet everyone. Thank you. Cindy Doll says hi as well.
Hello everyone, my name is Samira Soltani and I'm the co-founder and CEO of Wireless PNC. We are developing wireless chargers for light electric vehicles like e-bike and e-scooter fleets specifically. My why comes from the belief that the future of mobility must be both clean and effortless. After working in mobility and clean tech for over 10 years, I saw EV charging to be the bottleneck of the EV adoption. When we talk about EV, it's not just about e-cars. There are e-bike and scooter fleets that are suffering from charging access, resulting them to have very high operational costs and hindering them from expanding all over the country. Our technology promotes EVs by addressing the charging infrastructure challenges, eliminating the charging anxiety, and helping owners and operators to save costs. For me, it's not just about building chargers, it's about accelerating the shift to sustainable transportation by solving a real world problem. Like everyone else, I've always loved challenges and solving problems. Even as a kid, I would be full of ideas to make businesses, like even a flower shop, to run it better. But I noticed in working research and in industry that the best way to turn bold ideas into real solutions is through entrepreneurship. As an engineer, I love seeing my ideas become a real product in my hand that can change an industry and make difference in people's life. Thank you so much for accepting me as this cohort. And I guess I'm the last person.
Fantastic. Yes, Samira was the last person. Unfortunately, we didn't see Jennifer from Ribosome. She's having some technical issues, but you've got on your table the sheets with their logos. I mean, look, check them all out. And here is what the cohort are going to be doing for the next couple of weeks. If we have the slide. Okay, but they did start today. They had their first meet and greet this morning, meeting each other, and now we have the kickoff tonight. And over the next 6 weeks, we're going to be putting them to work. So workshops start tomorrow, twice a week, 2.5 hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Many of you in the room here are involved in those workshops, so it's going to be very busy as they, learn. And all of the workshops are tailored to getting this cohort investment ready. So be it IP, finance, marketing, everything that they need to then sit in front of an investor and pitch their business. So that's job one. Then every Friday, practice, practice, practice. They were going to be pitching first to each other this coming Friday as a peer practice. We're starting them gently, and then next Friday, from the Fridays for the next 6 Fridays, many of you here again are involved in those sessions. So they are pitched to each other, pitched to a group of volunteers who are investors, VCs, some of the coaches, some of the champions, to get real-time feedback on their session. We call it frank and friendly feedback. And over the 6 weeks, the goal is to see those pitches improve, and they absolutely do improve. In fact, the last time I was at an Invest Ottawa, we had a panelist say that the pitches that he sees from the SheBoot cohort are heads and tails above all the other pitches he sees. So that practice is really pays off over the week. Each of the cohort have been matched with a coach. Also, many of whom are in this room. Thank you, coaches. The coaches dedicate an hour a week throughout the first 6 weeks. So it's a huge investment for coaches, and we're so grateful for their help. And they kind of walk side by side with them through the program, helping them parse out what is going to be the most meaningful and valuable for their businesses. Many of them are also able to attend the pitch practices to, again, because they might get conflicting and differing feedback in those pitch practices. So what are the ones that they, are going to be best for their session? We also have one-on-one advisors from a legal, finance, IP perspective. Each founder gets 3 hours per advisor for those specific areas of business, areas that they need the most help with. So that happens throughout, from now through till October. Then in October, we set them up with a ghost board, which is 2 to 3 women from different areas of business, many generalists, but all have business experience, some investor experience. And then the idea of that is to then help them as they're kind of mapping out their investment journey. So for the next 6 months, that ghost board will meet with each with the founders once a month. And it's not an advisory, a governance board. That many of them have their advisory boards, but this is more of an informal advisory board. What else? Ghost boards. Okay, coaching and did all that. And then big pitch day in October to all of the 30 women investors that we have at SheBoot. This is when the cohort, everything comes together and they pitch. It's a full virtual day, 9 to 5 for the investors. They each have 15 minutes to pitch, 10 minutes for questions. And the result of that is the winners of our $300,000 prize package. Thank you to our 30 investors for that. So first prize gets $150,000, the second prize gets $100,000, and the third prize gets $50,000, which is a fantastic boost on their journey to investment. And now I am very pleased to introduce Kayla Kavanaugh from Welch, treasured partner of SheBoot since the very beginning, to tell you about our panel.
Hi everyone, my name is Kayla Kavanaugh. I'm a principal at Welch. If you haven't heard of us, Welch is a public accounting firm based in Ottawa, and we've been very excited to sponsor the SheBoot program for the last number of years. Tonight I have the privilege of introducing the speakers for the Fireside chat. So please welcome to the stage and to the screen Julia Elbridge, co-founder of SheBoot, Carol Leaman, and Christine Tutssel, co-founders of Axonify, as they share their story about how they scaled the company to a $400 million exit in 2021.
Excellent. Sorry. Jane, I left you a note on your computer, by the way. Okay, just heads up there. Really happy to have you here. I'm just waiting for Christine to join us. She'll be...
I'm here.
Okay, we just don't see you yet, Christine. Oh, there you are. There you are. Oh. Wow, you changed. Excellent. Great to see you. I'm really proud to be able to have this conversation with Carol and Christine today because, you know, these women have been on a journey that we're kind of sending our SheBoot founders on now, right? This is a shining example of what we're trying to achieve. I keep saying my goal is lots more $100 million women-led companies. And because if we have those companies, if we have $100 million women-led companies, then we will change the world because women will like working for tech. It's a huge change, yeah. And I get the feeling, and we'll get into culture a little bit, that worked for Carol and Christine as well. For the founders online, I really would like to hear some questions from you. Katie is going to be the source for those. You can ask your questions at any time, and Katie will store them up for the right time later on. But let's get going and get to know Axonify a little bit more. It's a Waterloo company. First of all, Waterloo, would you call it Waterloo or Kitchener-Waterloo? Okay, okay. I'm from Kitchener-Waterloo, so they're kind of, every once in a while, they're a bit weird about which is which. So, you know, what I'm going to start with just an introduction to Axonify because I, you know, very infrequently call on ChatGPT, but I did. And this is word for word what I got back, which was better than I would have written. So, in a tech landscape often dominated by flashy funding rounds and overnight unicorns, Axonify's exit in 2021 stands out as a master class in sustainable growth, visionary leadership, and meaningful impact.
ChatGPT wrote
Yeah,
that?
they did that.
We like ChatGPT, don't we?
Wow. Founded by Carol Leaman and Christine Tutssel, Axonify refined how frontline employees learn using brain science, gamification, and adaptive technology to drive real business results.
Wow, that is amazing. Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, who needs marketing?
Yeah, well, okay. And so, you know, these ladies came together as co-founders in 2010. Am I doing the years right? Yeah, 2010. And you know what? I'm going to start with Christine. What Christine brought to the table is years of sales and sales management experience in a number of different high-tech companies. And she actually did some amazing things, like switched from one industry to another industry to another industry in that process. But she really globalized, I'm going to give her most of the credit for that, globalized the customer base for Axonify as the CRO of Axonify. Can I? Okay. I'm making sure that I don't step on any toes here.
Christine did everything.
Oh yeah, it was all me. Yeah.
But, you know, Carol came to it, Axonify, with some really great experience being the CEO of PostRank, a social engagement analytics platform that she actually ended up selling to Google, of all things. So, you know, she had some fairly substantive experience before she got involved with Axonify. And together, they're really powerful pair, is what I heard. So let me just get going a little bit and play with my paper for just a short second longer. And Carol, you know, I really would like you to sort of look back on that journey. Tell me what inspired you to start Axonify, and what were some of those early challenges getting the company off the ground?
So just a tiny bit more of my background. I'm actually a CPA by formal education. I grew up in Ottawa, but I went to University of Waterloo and got my CPA after an accounting education. And I worked for a public company after I left public accounting. And during that 6 or 7 years, did mostly just capital raising and acquisitions. And that really kind of set the stage for, we bought a company in California that was a very high fidelity virtual reality company. And what I didn't anticipate was that the board of directors fired the CEO and then looked at me when I was, I think, 34 years old and said, "We'd like you to be the CEO." And that sort of set me on a path of running technology companies. And when we got to 2010, I had I hadn't sold PostRank yet. So that's a company I invested in, a young 22-year-old, really genius kid. He asked me to run the company, so I did, so as an investor shareholder. And just in what ended up being the final few months of that, I said to Christine, who was a friend of mine in the tech community, that I had been introduced to a couple of founders who had a little piece of source code, and they really didn't know what to do with it. They were approaching 70 years old. They were a husband and wife. And they actually had a marketing business and had developed this, or had a couple of software developers build it on the side for one customer that they had. And the idea really intrigued me. And one thing I will say is that, like Christine, all of the tech companies I've ever run have been very, very different. And I mean, I'm not a tech person, but there are skills that you can bring if you get the right people around you. And so I said to Christine, you know, there's this couple, they have this thing, they don't know what to do with it. I'm spending a whole bunch of time with them. I don't have this time because I was running PostRank. Christine was just coming out of a company that was being sold. And so she started working with this couple, and one day phoned me up and said, "You should get over here and run this company. And we should just take this thing and run with it." And we ended up, it just so happened that like literally a week later, Google came to buy PostRank. And so I negotiated that deal over about 12 weeks. And then Christine and I together decided to approach the original founders of Axonify to buy that piece of source code. So we did. We took 2 of their employees and, you know, really had a vision for what was solving one very simple problem, which was training frontline workers who don't sit at a desk and are very high turnover, into getting those individuals to do something meaningful for the business as quickly as possible. And I did this product roadmap in October 2011 that was very extensive.
I can see Christine laughing there.
Yeah. And that's really how it started. And
I think you still have that, don't you, Carol?
I
You
still have that product roadmap.
It's on a
I
piece of
look at
paper.
it. I'm framing it. I just retired, and so I did bring it home with me. But you know, I will say this: during the whole negotiation with those original founders of Axonify, I got very frustrated a number of times, and Christine is a closer.
Oh, okay.
And she talked me off the ledge more than once.
She was on the ledge big time. She calls me up. She goes, I don't think so. Like, you just go do this thing without me. I'm not going to put up with this crap anymore. I'm like, okay, Carol, just like settle down here. Let's just talk this through. Because the thing is that Carol and I are very different people, right? We have very different skill sets. And, you know, Carol's a CPA. She knows how to go out and raise capital, you know, manage the board, you know, run the, you know, HR and finance and the product side of the business. And I'm from the sales customer side of the business. So the two of us together were able to be very effective in, you know, helping each other fill one another's gaps, right? And I learned so much from Carol about, you know, raising money and how to deal with all these investors and that type of thing. And then I would like bring her into the sales folder. She goes, don't ask me to price any deal because I'll just give it away. I can't ask them for money, but she's getting all the money from the investors, but not from the customers. So.
You've gone on to answer the next question I was going to ask, Christine, which is great because and so a part of that was the strengths of the team, each of you individually. But so I'm going to have you start the next one. Okay, so you together had to grow Axonify from 4 employees to 220 employees. So what were those key inflection points in that journey? When did you feel that those big changes?
Yeah, so I mean, we actually were close to 300 actually when I retired, and that was a year ago, June. And I think, you know, Carol and I think really shared the same approach to building the organization, focused on the people and people. When you're dealing with these individuals, you need to know who they are, know about them, and really take an interest in them and be compassionate leaders. And if you do that, then people just they want to follow you. They want to come on the journey. Like I used to say that people like Carol's like the Pied Piper. You know, people just follow her anywhere because she is a compassionate leader. And, you know, we both worked for guys that were frankly, not great in terms of how they treated us. And we learned from that. And I had said to myself, if I ever get in a position where I'm leading a company, you know, I am not going to treat people like that. But you don't really know what to do. Carol says to me, you've got to be a compassionate leader. It's so critical. And I had never had that example set for me in my career. So it was great to partner with Carol and to get that advice and for us to do that. And I actually had breakfast this morning with one of the leaders at Axonify. And she was saying, you know, when you two were leading the company, you know, what was so incredible is like you knew my kids' names. Like you asked me how their first day of school was. Like all these things. And it wasn't just her. Like it was like
there's a lot of people you had to keep track of. Yeah.
And so then, you know, that kind of like dictates the culture. And then people want to do things, go the extra mile in order to make things happen. So, yeah, I think that's super critical is to take an interest in the people.
And so, Carol, would you add anything when you talk about compassionate leadership? Add anything to what Christine said?
Yeah, I used to use this analogy. I haven't used it in a long time, but I used to say to new employees, I would onboard right up until I retired, onboard all new employees and spend an hour with them. And one of the things I would say is that the culture of Axonify is like the human body, where if you want to keep that body as healthy as possible, and what you don't want, so if you think about employees as all the cells in your body, if those employees are, you know, all pulling on the rope in the same direction, highly motivated, positive people who are there to help each other out, then that reinforces itself. And so if a bad person, who's got bad intentions joins the team, the body is strong enough to reject it. And we had that happen a number of times where, as you get bigger, you can't identify, problem people as quick or as well. But those individuals, I actually remember one self-selected out after about 3 months, and his parting words were, "The standard of behavior in this company is the highest I've ever met." And
wow. Recording in progress.
It wasn't
Recording
because,
stopped.
It's like, just be a real person and treat each other
with respect.
like a real person. And come from the place of, I just expect that everybody wants to do a good job, wants to be successful in their career, wants to add value every day that they come to work. Like, most people want to do that. And if you just expect them to do that, they will.
But sorry, that's great at, I don't know, 10 people, 50 people, 100 people. But I remember when our company got to, 130 people, and people would say, I'd ask them, what are the 3 things that you love about Chipworks? And they said, well, one of them was, it's a family environment. Like, how do you keep a family going at 150 people, 200 people?
You have to make that transition from a family. We actually used to call ourselves the Axonifam.
Yeah.
And we actually changed that and stopped using that terminology because you are getting bigger, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean you can't keep those core principles alive in the organization, and people still feel that they belong.
Yeah.
But you have to transition out of that family.
But you make it possible at all levels of the corporation too.
Yeah. It takes effort. Like, it doesn't come easy. It takes daily effort. And, it's many things. It's not one thing. And, part of that was, we, right up until I left, we're doing every 2 weeks an all-team meeting. And it was just, kind of a casual, here's what's going on in the business. Here's how we're doing against our financial targets. Like, we are very transparent with everything. There was no excuse for the 300 people at Axonify not to know exactly what our revenue was, how profitable we were, anything.
That's great.
And that, again, just fosters ownership and a belief in what people are doing.
So take me back again to the beginning a little bit, and the first few months, I think you were unpaid and bootstrapping, and then you got a first raise. And this is what SheBoot is about, getting our founders and helping them get investment ready. So, tell me about that journey to that first raise and how exciting it was to get it, and why it was critical. Carol.
Yeah, it was, Post-Strength, the sale of that to Google closed in June, and it took from June of 2011 till March of 2012 to raise our first seed round of capital. And so we had one customer that we had picked up from the original founders. That customer was paying us $120,000 US a year. So we used that $120,000 US to pay the 2 employees that we picked up, and a few other sort of minor costs. But Christine and I were not getting paid. And what we did, though, during that period of time was Christine was selling off a PowerPoint to new customers. I was out doing capital raising and trying to attract people to join the team so that the minute we closed on that money, we had a core group of people that we knew were on board. And so, it was a balance. Like, it's always stressful. It's always a balance, but we had that target in mind. And, quite literally, Christine was out there with a PowerPoint that had been mocked up, dialing prospects and trying to, generate some business. And then I was trying to get us financed. And I mean, there were moments, and even after we raised that initial capital, hired like 5 people, we still didn't pay ourselves really much of anything for another, I'm going to say almost 2 years.
Yeah. And then when we did the next raise, we were working on this deal at Walmart, and we couldn't close that round until we closed the deal. So we ran a pilot with them for 6 months. We went through all the results. They agreed they wanted to proceed. Then we had to do a contract. Well, that took like 6 months to get done
with Walmart.
Yeah, and so it was a long process. And our new investor coming in, he's like, I'm not closing this deal until you get that thing signed. So like I'm driving home from work one day, and now I'm dating myself here. I had my BlackBerry, and and so I got the contract, hits my BlackBerry, and I'm like, oh my God, okay, it's done. So I'm like driving up the street, and Carol just lived like one turn off there on the way home. So I just like turned right, went right into her driveway, bang, bang, bang on her door. I said, we got the deal, because it was
we were one payroll away from having no cash. Yeah.
Talk to me about the investors involved in that. I think we called it a pre-seed round. 1.7 million US was the first. And were they angel investors? Were they established institutional investors?
So that first round was made up of me, Christine, and the IAF in Toronto.
Mars IAF.
Mars IAF.
Yeah.
And they had just launched their fund, I think maybe 2 years before that. But I will tell you that I literally hit the ground running, starting to raise capital in July of 2011. And I encountered, what many women encounter, which is this disbelief that a woman running a tech company, and thank God it's way less than that today. But I can tell you, back in 2011, a female running a tech company was a rarity. I was the only one I knew, actually. And so I encountered a lot of that, men not wanting to invest in women, Christine and I. And it just so happened, I had a term sheet. It was not a great term sheet, but we needed the capital. And I pitched a guy. I'm not even going to name names here because I know some of you will know these people. I pitched a guy because that investor said to me, I trust his judgment. And so I had to pitch this guy on like a Friday night at 9 p.m. And he asked me a bunch of questions. And then at 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, now we're talking February of 2012. On 10 a.m. on Saturday morning, I get a call from the investor who said, we're not going to give you the $1 million. It was $1 million check. And I was gobsmacked because I thought that pitch the night before to his trusted guy went so well. And I knew that guy, actually. And so I was literally speechless. Got off the phone and, called Christine, and I was just like, I can't even believe this. I've got to call this investor back and just, what are the top 3 objections? And I didn't have a chance to do that. And Monday, after that weekend, I get a call out of the blue from the guy who ended up being our $1 million investor, somebody I knew in California. And he said to me, hey, David heard your pitch on Friday night, and he called me and told me I should invest in you. So
really?
I'll fly up on Thursday, and I can just write you a check on the spot.
And this is the first time you talked to this person?
No, I knew him before.
Okay, you knew him. But
I did know him before, but I hadn't talked to him in probably 3 years.
Yeah.
And that's what he did. He flew up on Thursday. We had lunch, and we had a check in the bank the following Monday for $1 million. And that allowed us to get the IAF money, and then with Christine and my money, we got it done.
Closed the round, yeah. And but
one of the things we reinforce to the SheBoot founders on a regular basis is, pitch. You got to pitch, and you got to pitch. So, give me an idea. I know that Christine was out pitching the sales pitch to customers, but how many times did you pitch to get that first pre-seed round?
Quite a bit. I pitched everybody I knew. Don't forget, I just sold a company to Google.
Yeah,
6 months before.
You got cred.
Yeah, a very good outcome for that investor.
Yeah.
And I just genuinely think that there was a bias at the time against female. The other thing I also knew, the idea that the little piece of source code Christina and I bought was so simple. And very ugly, by the way. It looked like it was something that was built in 1982. And so when people kind of looked at it, they're like, you think you can make a company out of this? And there was disbelief about the idea. But I just knew. I knew.
But the plan, we did, just so we're clear with everybody, we did not sell that product.
No.
Well, let's say this, we did not install that product.
Yeah.
Right? What we used the capital for was to redevelop everything. In the cloud. Yeah.
But the idea was good.
The idea was good.
Yeah, the idea was good. Yeah. There's a question in the chat here, Julia, that just saying when we founded Axonify, did we think we were going to grow it to 300 people? And was that what we were after, or was it an unexpected success? And I would say that, Carol and I haven't really talked about this for a while, but early on, I think we thought we were going to be in and out of this thing in 3 or 4 years, right?
Yeah.
And then I kept saying to her, okay, girlfriend, I got to retire, I got to go. And she's like, you're not going anywhere. I said, you keep telling me that. We're 10 years into this thing,
Yeah.
So, but you get to a point where you're growing the business and you're in a cadence and they're humming along, right? And there was that kind of from the 3rd year to the year 8, we just kind of went through this process and things were moving. So it wasn't.
Well, it was pretty huge.
Time just flew.
95 countries, big, huge global customers like Walmart. Give me more customer names, Christine.
So we have, Foot Locker globally, Levi's globally.
Yeah.
We work with a lot of the pharmaceutical companies like Johnson & Johnson. We train their sales team around the world. We work with Kroger, who is the largest grocer next to Walmart in the U.S., and they have 450,000 employees, and we're just in the process of rolling out with Marriott International for 800,000 frontline workers around the globe.
Wow.
So those are a few examples of some customers that we work with, and we are very good at dealing with companies that have multiple geographies, lots of locations, and
really hard.
Tens of thousands of people. It's really, really hard to do that.
Yeah.
And we do it very, very well.
Yeah. Well done. And I want you to tell me a little bit more about the product, because my description was very short and why it's so powerful. But then, Carol, I'm going to get you to talk about the sale of the company. So, Christine, tell me just what's so powerful about this product and why is it sold?
So I would say, I don't want to go into all the nitty-gritty details about the product, but I would say that I had 2 people tell me, very senior people. So one was a very senior leader at Walmart, who said, this is a big ship, and you are helping us change our culture. So in the pilot that we ran with Walmart, the goal was, they had at the time about 120 distribution centers that they were managing. That's what we were focused on, and what we were trying to train on was to get them to reduce safety incidents. So we were targeting all the things they were doing wrong so that we could keep the workers safe and they would have less incidents. And so they had about a third of their network that was underperforming. So the goal was to put it in that third. But what they noticed when they started to implement the solution was that people were talking to each other about safety. They were looking out for each other. they were saying, hey, make sure when you bend, you keep your arms in, don't
Yeah.
fly like a bird. That was one of the things that they talked about. So they saw this happening. They went, wow,
Yeah.
that's really unique. And, here we are, like, I don't know, what is it, 14 years later or 13 years later, and they're still using it in the same fashion because it's embedded in the culture. And then another example would be I had dinner with the team at Kroger, their CHRO, who kept telling me he had the big job. He was sitting with me at dinner, really, really nice guy, but like he does have a big job. I mean, he's running 450,000 person organization. And he says, you should be very proud of what you've accomplished. And I said, well, thank you, Tim. What do you mean by that? And he said, well, you are helping us change the culture of this organization, and that is a monumental task, and we've never been able to do that.
Yeah.
So that, it's because when you have something in the hands of your employees that they're using every day, and they want to use it. Like I went for dinner across the street the other night, and I was with my mom and some of the old birds, and they said, oh well, what does Axonify do? And I said, well, they use Axonify here. And the woman, the waitress says to me, well, how do you know Axonify? And so I told her, and she said, wow, I love that solution. It's so easy to use. It's so great.
Oh yeah. All right.
And,
Okay.
that makes you feel good when you run into people.
Yeah, you're changing culture.
Yeah.
Neat. Yeah, very neat. I'm just going to check any questions. Okay. Before I move on to the sale. Okay. This is from our founders.
The mic. Yes, I know, Christine, you were watching the chat as well, but there was one missed. This is from Samira with Wireless PNC. So what is your advice for the first-time entrepreneurs without acquisition experience? Where, how, and when should we start the path to acquisition? And I'll also say I have a few others coming in. So
yeah, good timing. Okay, Carol. Yep.
So I would say this: don't focus on an acquisition at your stage. Focus on having the right product, getting your target market sold, and just building the business, and the acquisition will come. If you focus on how do I get acquired now at the stage you're at, you're not going to get acquired because you're going to make choices that aren't the right choices for building the business.
But there's so many investors that ask the question, what's your exit strategy? Right. So what do you do about that?
So that's a different question.
Okay,
so
good.
I would answer that question to say, I'm building the business and I am going after a problem and a market that has many potential acquirers. It could be this category of company. It could be private equity. Forget about strategics, but because there could be a whole variety of those, but private equity is an acquirer. And I would just kind of couch it in categories that we're not going so specific that we need to find that one needle in the haystack to buy the business.
Yeah.
So, of course we all want to be acquired, but investors don't really they do care about the exit. They want to know you've got your mind on an eventual exit. What they really want to hear is that an exit will come, but I'm focused on building a very successful business.
That's perfect. I'm going in and I'm just getting to and I'll to Katie next, but the sale of the company, when you were thinking it through now, which you were much further along, I understand, which of you wants to start about telling me about how much ahead did you plan for this? What were the stages of planning? And how did you pick this particular partner?
So
maybe
Carol, go ahead.
I'll just start and then you can fill in all the gory details because you know all the ins and outs. But I think we were, as a business, we had decided it was probably time to look at an acquisition. So we had interviewed all these bankers and we were just about to hire a banker. And then Luminate Capital came inbound. And one of the things that Carol and I were really concerned about when you're looking at doing a private equity exit was we wanted to make sure that we had the right partner because we wanted to make sure we could maintain the culture.
Yes, the culture. Okay. Yeah.
And so that was key. So, okay, Carol, you go.
Yeah. So in 2021, all of you remember, this was the year of like crazy in tech. Wage inflation was, starting like crazy. Valuations were through the roof. There was like so much froth. And that's what caused our existing investors at the time. We had 2 VCs and a private equity firm to want us to explore the idea of acquisition. And Christine and I were 10 years in at that point, and it had met my personal goal of, I had kind of set a target for myself of, I only want to sell a business if we can get 300 million US or more. That was my personal goal.
Okay.
And I felt like, okay, I think that that's possible.
Didn't you write that down somewhere, Carol?
Yeah,
You had it
I
written
did.
down?
You saved that piece of paper too?
I'll tell you what I did. This is even weirder. I actually wrote myself a check many years ago.
Okay. Yeah.
When we started the business for what I would get on the exit, I personally, and almost to the dollar.
Oh, well done. Well done. Okay. Well deserved too.
So we, as Christine said, we were on the verge of hiring an investment bank to prep us to go to market when Illuminate came inbound first to one of our investors who said, hey, have a conversation. And so I did, and she made an offer for the business that was quite low, so we just rejected it. And then we continued down the process, and she ended up coming back and got to 320 million US dollars.
Well, and let me point out that was you keep using the word she, a woman private equity investor.
Yeah.
Wow.
Which is rare. And that was one of the things that attracted Christine and I. It was a different vibe. Some of the very large private equity firms, like you guys would know the names, Thoma Bravo, Vista, like there's a whole raft of them. They're very big. They have a playbook. They don't deviate from the playbook. And it's very difficult to manage a private equity investor. Luminate was smaller, 15 people. Holly Haynes controls Luminate like as one partner. And so, that appealed to Christine and I. It was just a different vibe, I would say.
Yeah.
So we actually chose Luminate over another PE firm that would have paid us probably $40 or $50 million more.
Wow, that's significant. Yeah.
Yeah, like at some point you kind of go, like, this is what I say to Carol, like, how much money do you need, right? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, you built a company, and you want to make sure that you look after 2 things, your people and your customers.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
That's why we built the company.
Neat.
So, we didn't lose sight of that in the
grand scheme of things.
Of like, we could go here, we could get that, but then what happens if it doesn't work out? And Carol had, she was much more familiar with these big P's than I was, and I was really concerned that we'd lose what we built.
Yeah. I'm sorry, we've come to the end of this time, but I want to let one more founder get a question in from Katie here.
Okay, this is very rare that I do this, but can we have 2?
Katie, you're giving me more time.
I know.
Yeah,
Usually I can be strict, but I don't have to be the one representing that. I know.
If you say yes, that's okay.
So Anya from Paloma asked, any suggestions or strategies you have as co-founders to help with making big business decisions, or whenever you are divided on big business decisions?
I would say, and Christine can add to this, as she said at the outset, she and I have very different skill sets. And, when it came to anything, customer sales, like I have my intuition, I think I exercise decent judgment, but I had to defer to Christine because she knows. I can, make my best judgment. Christine knows. So, there was just a lot of that. Like the other thing is Christine and I trust this woman with my life, like literally. And so, and we have that relationship. And so, we both know. We both want the same thing at the end of it. Now, that's not to say, like, we had some rough patches. There was some, rough patches we went through, largely driven by our investors. I will say that.
Got pretty rough there for a while. Yeah.
And, who are trying to drive a wedge between the two of us, frankly. And, but, we worked through that. We came back together, set our eye on the target, and, ended up, getting through that successfully. But it's just a lot of conversation. It's trust. You got to trust.
Yeah.
And you have to relinquish, control. We're both control freaks.
Total control. Like I'm 99.9 on the control scale.
Yeah.
Like I've been tested and I know.
Great answer. One more question then, Katie.
When you're trying to turn a big ship, as Christine said, what are some early steps you took to ensure that the immediate impact was proven and shared to justify the ROI and gain your next large customer?
Yeah, so we worked like really closely with our clients to get documented evidence and proof of the impact of the solution, and that certainly helped us get the next customers. But I think, the storytelling of trying to like pick all these pieces out that happened here and there and this customer and that, and then the culture story. I always told the culture story because it was something that you couldn't quantify, but an executive, like a senior executive of business, totally gets that, and it really resonates. So the hard numbers, I think, are very good, but you have to kind of pull it into something because, some people will pick numbers apart, so it has to be in context.
Any last words on that, Carol?
No, I mean, what Christine said, we just really focused on the proof points.
Yeah.
And working with the customer from the outset to say, what is it that's going to make this successful for you? Like, what is your definition of success of this project? Not our definition. What's your definition of success?
Yeah.
And then work to that.
Fantastic. I really appreciate both of you taking the time to talk with us and be part of this discussion. It's absolutely illuminating. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
I have the opportunity to ask Megan Paterson to come forward and talk to us about women in leadership, and we'll let you take the throne. You can be wherever you want to be, Megan.
I did type out some notes. I probably won't follow them. Thanks. That was such a great success story. That was amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. I think for the new cohort, it gives a path to where it can be. And that's how we learn, right? We learn from others. My name is Megan Paterson. I'm the COO of Kinaxis. I'm an angel investor, and I'm proud to be part of SheBoot. I think this is my 5th year. And every year, every cohort gets better and better, so it's so great to see. When I was speaking with Julia and Jane, they asked me if I could talk a little bit about sponsorship and also about leadership. And, when I was thinking about it, we all come from different backgrounds and different experiences. And that is what makes us who we are and what we're looking for. When I was growing up, I thought I came from a really typical family. Our house was loud and noisy. My mom didn't work. We had too many kids. We didn't have enough food. Some months we had no electricity. And we moved around a lot. And looking back, my family was very isolated. And it really wasn't until I got to about high school when I realized that my family life was not typical at all compared to most of my classmates. It was, in fact, very, very different. And at first I was pretty embarrassed. And, when you're little, you don't really notice these differences until you get a bit older. So I started spending a lot more time at school. And I got involved with clubs and sports and students' council, really anything to sort of get me out of the house to see my friends because I didn't want them to come to my house and see me. And through those experiences, I met some really incredible people, some really strong, smart women that were just these fantastic leaders. And I don't even think I knew what a leader was, at that time. But looking back, they were definitely strong leaders. And it sort of what these women showed me was a different path, different options, and I think that's a really big part of what SheBoot is showing different options and different paths that we can all take. There's different kinds of exits. There's different kinds of success. It's not always monetary. It could be many different things. So I started to be a little bit of a sponge and seek out other strong females. And anywhere I was, at work, at university, I just wanted to learn. I wanted to learn, what do I need to do to become a leader? What does that look like? What are the things that I should try and experience? My mom was a great role model in many ways, but not from a leadership perspective. So I became probably pretty annoying, and seeking out advice, somebody called me very persistent, but I had to learn. And I knew that the path that my mom was on was not the path for me. For all of our co-founders, they all come from different backgrounds too, and they're looking for different things. What I love about SheBoot is we bring in coaching and mentoring, learning, and most importantly, community. So we help our founders in the different pieces that they might be missing. And I really love that it's such a well-balanced. Jane, you took everybody through what is covered by the program. It's just fantastic. I mentioned at the beginning I work for Kinaxis. For those of you that don't know, we're a publicly traded supply chain SaaS company. We're headquartered here in Ottawa, and we've grown a lot in the years. When I first started, we were about 20 million in revenue. We just surpassed $500 million, so pretty exciting. Wasn't me, but I was part of it. And as we've grown as a company, our programs have grown as well. One of the programs we have that I'm really, really proud of is our ESG program. One of our major pillars of our ESG program is supporting women and girls in leadership and supporting women and girls in STEM. We've worked with many organizations over the years. We've worked with Women Who Code, Girls Who Code, Power to Fly, Grace Hopper. So when Jane approached me about sponsoring SheBoot, we jumped on it. It was just, I don't know why I didn't think of it before. I didn't think of reaching out, so thank you for reaching out to Kinaxis. I'm so proud to actually be able to partner with a Canadian organization like SheBoot, so it's been great. It's the sponsorship program for Kinaxis is something that resonates with all of our employees. It resonates with our board of directors. I'm always shocked when the board's asking me about what we're sponsoring and what we're involved in. And I'd encourage any of you to think about it for the organizations you work for. Funding is getting tougher and tougher out there, and so I'd encourage you to think about partnering with SheBoot. It's been fantastic. And I think tonight we've seen the value of that, the power of that. For anybody that's, we listened to the founders today. When you listen in 6 weeks or 8 weeks, it's going to be night and day, and that's part of the great work that SheBoot does, is just helping these founders get to that next level. That's it for me. I just want to say, think about sponsoring SheBoot. It's really been a great experience for Kinaxis. I think it would be great for your organizations as well.
Do I have to do any? No. Okay. I just want to say thanks, Megan. It is with sponsors like you that we can run this program. And that's really important. I want to reflect on a couple of things I heard from Axonify. That there had been some bias in the investment system. I'm thinking it might not be totally gone yet. And that's partly why we're here and are likely to be here for longer than I had hoped. As we work to get a lot more of our women founders funded, scaling, growing, and as Julia said, to reach those $100 million companies led by women. And I'm thinking another thing I liked about what I heard from Christine and Carol was around the values that they stood for. Because You know, when I was going up through tech, we used to have a lot of conversations about the triangle and keeping in balance the shareholders, the customers, and the employees. But now when you look at what's going on with so many companies, it's the shareholders and not so much the employees and the customers or the users. So it's good to see that you can keep those values and make money. And I think that's really important as we look at these companies with impact, is how much good you can do when you focus on those values and you can still make money, you can still be profitable, your investors can still make money, and you can make a difference. And I think that's what a lot of the companies that we're supporting are here for, is to be able to do that. And in order to help them do that, we need an army of people. So part of our army of people is those pitch practice volunteers. You heard earlier from Jane the comment that the SheBoot companies are some of the best pitchers that this investor had seen. Well, that happens, one, from the grit and determination of the founders that are in the program, but it also comes from the weekly pitch practices and the help that the investors give in terms of giving real and honest feedback that's constructive and helpful so that they can improve and try again the next week. So if you're not already a pitch practice volunteer, this is your time to sign up. You can also join ghost boards. Jane talked a little bit about the ghost board. The purpose of the ghost board is to help guide those companies to raise money. That's what we do. We help work through the issues on the ghost board, on what are they encountering, what are the roadblocks, what are the things you need help with in order to be truly ready to raise that investment, whether it's legal help or marketing help or other things that need to be done in order to raise money. So that is what the ghost board is all about. So if you have any experience in any area of that, you can volunteer for a ghost board. I would also like to invite everybody to show up for a grand finale event November 4th, where we will hear from all of the companies. So you've heard them today on their why. November 4th, they will be giving their pitches on their businesses and hopefully raising investment. And then we will be at SAS North the next 2 days, November 5th and 6th, and in the investor zone to help our companies get meetings with investors. All of this is possible. It takes money, so I hate to be crass, it does take money. So it's our partners, our sponsors, our government sponsors. IRAP has been absolutely invaluable for years now in helping us to run this program. So thank you very much. Thank you to our newest sponsors, Kinaxis and Navio, and our long-term sponsors, Gowling and Welsh, Number Crunch, Mistral with us from the beginning, Capital Angel Network, and Invest Ottawa as our founding partners. Takes a very big village to make a difference. So I want to thank everybody for coming along the journey with us. Oh, and I'm supposed to tell you all to stay for food and drinks. Thank you.